one-to-one, but that's like in a far more sort of how would I put this? Obtuse, maybe sort of antagonistic way. That's how people talk about like Lorne Michaels.
Yeah,
where
sure.
They're like, this guy's like scary, and
he's kind of like
hard.
Weird ultimate dad.
But there is like an obsessive
you're
thing
scared
where
about
like,
him, but also
you want to make dad proud.
You go on like a walk with him, and he says something, and you're like, oh my god,
That's
he's like summed it all up.
Right.
Like, yeah,
it's why like fucking Maron always asked the Lauren question, whether they auditioned for it or whether they were on the show for a minute or whatever, because everyone has it. Like I have the fucking story from like meeting him once, where like everyone has the like he says some weirdly profound thing to you that rings in your head. I've told you what he said to me, right?
I don't think so. Try silence.
He said try silence. No, I think about this all the fucking time. Had gotten cast on the Mulaney pilot. It felt crazy that I had gotten that role.
Yeah.
And we had to do like a rehearsal thing at the NBC Rockefeller Center. And I was like hanging out there. And someone knocked on the door and was like, Lorne would like to meet you.
Oh, my God.
Right. So it's like, you're like, what?
Yeah, right.
And go down corridors, like 4 offices, whatever.
They make the popcorn.
Truly.
Right.
Standing in the vestibule outside his office.
Did he make you wait like a long time?
No. Well, this is what happened. So there's like the vestibule outside his office, and I'm in the hallway outside the vestibule. And the vestibule is like all the Lornettes, which are like his 10 female assistants, right? And he's standing.
Seems healthy.
Yep. In the doorframe of his office, looking out the vestibule at all the Lornettes, and he's just listing, and he's like, and remember, we have to put 2 tickets aside for John, and do this, and we need to see what the edit is like on that. Griffin, come inside. No need to be scared. We need to cut 15 minutes.
He could feel it. He could feel
I
the
was
fear.
like, I have to be outside of his range of peripheral vision here. And I went, oh, no, I'm not scared. Which I'm sure
great thing to say.
Really sold him.
Always a good thing to say to someone.
No,
I'm not scared.
You are.
I think he bought it.
Sure.
And then I walk inside. So he didn't make me wait. But then once I was in there, there was 3 minutes of silence as he made popcorn and arranged his office. And he was like, have a seat.
You have not told this story before.
I've never told you this before?
I so.
I've definitely not told it on the podcast, but I thought I told you personally.
Maybe you told me what he said, but I don't remember all this preamble.
The only chair in the office
to a Lorne story.
is not facing him at the desk. It's like facing the other wall.
Okay.
And I was like, well, I'm not going to be presumptuous enough to move the chair.
Right.
This feels like one of those tests that people talk about in these auditions. So I sit in the chair and then I rotate my entire upper body.
Sure.
So my legs are
That's
pointing in
definitely
one
better.
direction and my torso is pointing like 60 degrees in the other direction.
Like a Gumby situation?
Totally. And then he sits down with a bowl of popcorn. It's like, okay.
Are you allowed to eat the popcorn?
No, it's for him. He's like hugging it. And he says, so how do you feel?
Just in general?
That's the only question, right? And I go, well, I feel incredible. You know, I've been like, struggling at this for like, 5 or 6 years now and just auditioning and doing shows in basements and trying to get anything. Sure. This is the first time I was ever getting close to like getting on a TV show. And somehow I tested for these 2 other shows and I didn't really like either one. And I would have been like happy to do it because I would have been happy to be working. But the idea of having to be on that for 7 years is like a little terrifying when you're signing that contract. And then this show is just like, I think it's so funny and everyone on it is so incredible. And this character I love. And like, so I'm not just happy that I have a job. I'm happy because it's like something I actually want to do.
Solid answer.
And he, without a pause, goes, well, you'll get sad eventually.
Fuck.
And I think about it all the fucking time because, and I don't know how he knew this, but I genuinely, when I got the Mulaney pilot, I went, oh, cool. So my depression is solved.
Man, fair
he
enough.
was like, meh.
Yeah. And I didn't say that to him, but I was like,
you were sort of saying like, I'm feeling great. Like,
I
feel like I finally did it.
I had been struggling with severe depression and anxiety my entire life,
right.
but all I needed was one role on a sitcom.
I needed to buck.
My brain's going to be perfect now. And then he just proceeded to go, well, you'll learn the craft. You'll have to figure out how to play out to the audience and find your voice and this and that. And just like said stuff for like, a minute and then went, you'll be fine. And then stood up and patted me on the shoulder and went, I'll see you in LA.
And that was it.
And the only other time he talked to me was after the pilot. He went, good work. But you'll get sad eventually, I think, anytime I'm like feeling too hot on myself or about anything.
I know
Working
Lorne
for
is
Lorne
this,
is, like,
is
not-
this tricky cultural figure at this
Yes,
point.
Very
but,
tricky.
I think one thing is obviously SNL's a big thing, so SNL. But also, we watched and loved a sitcom for many years about that kind of a relationship in 30 Rock. You know what I mean? Even though if it's not a direct Lorne parody,
Yeah.
it's that parody of going into the big leather-bound office and like having this sort of like insane rich person.
Well,
Right, like in the first season
yeah.
especially,
Yes.
it's just like so.
I mean, that dynamic
removed.
in 30 Rock
I'll
is
say,
so great.
just the other little note about this story, when we had to do the rehearsal in New York, they were like, it's going to be in one of Lorne's offices because he's got like 6 offices in 30
Because
Rock.
he's like in charge of Broadway video and he's in
Right.
charge of, yeah.
The one that we went to, which is the one that he apparently does not spend much time in because he spends most of the time in that SNL office, which is the one with the big window looking out to the stage, which is where I sat in the position that probably led to my back injuries 6 years later. The office that we met in was the Jack Donaghy office, 100%.
Really?
Like it was 92% accurate.
Is there like a secret bathroom? Secret
Yes.
bathroom.
Yes. We walked
Love a
in,
secret
and
bathroom.
Mulaney said, I wanted to have this rehearsal in here
Right.
because I worked here for 8 years and I never got to use the secret bathroom.
Right.
And he hit the wall and the door opened and
Wow.
he used the bathroom.
Oh my God,
Funny.
good for him.
He made me watch. He was like, Griffin, come in.
Come look. See?
You're gonna watch me pee.
God, I mean, I will say that like ever since working at Variety, plugs.
Variety.
Yeah,
Yes.
Buffalo Biz.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
But I have to list all the exec producers for every show, which
Yeah,
I
yeah,
never
yeah.
had to do before,
Sure.
and it's made me so much more aware of like so many things. First of all, how many are usually is just men all around, maybe one woman, and then they're men. Have you heard of them? You're not great.
Wait a second. What are you talking about? I'm so great.
Him?
But he's on like everything.
Yeah.
I mean,
Lorne?
you just forget Lorne. I mean,
Yeah.
you just forget like how many things he's doing and how many things
Yeah.
he like won't let people do without him. You know, that sort of thing. I mean, I will say the one time I've ever seen him was at like a CAA Christmas party, like 2013 or something.
Sure.
Never seen more like high profile celebrities in my life. I was
Right.
a +1. I was not prepared. I was in like all Forever 21 gear, like with my glasses. Which I will also say, if you're ever at an LA party, dress down, people will be like, "Who's that? That doesn't have to care."
Right.
It worked. It should not have. I was like, "Ooh, I'm a writer's assistant. Please don't talk to me." I've never seen more celebrities in a smaller space in my life, and still the table that was getting the most attention was like Fallon and Lorne
Yeah.
sitting at this like round booth, and everyone was just kind of going up, paying.
The
Sure.
Holden Court thing.
It was
Yeah.
totally that.
Right.
And it was so noticeable even in this environment. Like
Yeah.
that was the nexus, right? Like
Yeah.
it was everyone was orbiting around that booth.
Well, that's like
No one should have that much power, is my take. It's too much.
I agree. No one man should have all that
Well,
power.
the
It's the
thing
thing
is-
that I said famously in my song Power
That's right.
off the album My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Right. It was
Um,
after you had that beautiful dark twisted fantasy.
I feel like no one ever gives me credit for that album. It's crazy.
You were the one who wanted to talk about all the lights.
I got a
And you
perfect
did
score
it.
from Pitchfork, and then now everyone acts like I didn't write and perform all of that album. It's like literally we've forgotten.
Bitch, you're a monster. God, remember when that album was good and it was just like, oh yeah, Kanye West, he's
Yeah.
great, we love him.
Yeah,
He does the music.
simpler time.
Come on, let's relitigate every fucking bad guy.
Yeah.
Come on, let's do it.
No, I was gonna say that famously at the SNL after party, Lorne just holds court wherever the location changes, but he finds his little corner table or booth, and he sits there until 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's
Sounds
like
good.
a big deal. Like the writers, the new cast members are like, maybe this is the week that he like invites me over to the booth.
Got such like scraps of affection.
But they're like, he never goes home.
Right.
He stays out the whole time. He outlasts everybody.
Yeah.
And he just sits there in that corner and has a conversation.
He likes walks too. You hear about the walks.
Yeah.
Mulaney and Seth Meyers did a podcast a while back, and they talk about the walks.
Yeah.
Like there's some sort of like walks they took with Lorne once.
But there's the mafia thing. I mean, you talking about how many things he ends up as an executive producer on. There are these stories of like, yeah, when I was like a cast member and then I like made my first movie, it wasn't with him. And he like, it took me 8 years
and he
to like
he
win
doesn't
back his
forget.
trust.
He does not forgive.
Right. And now he does it with like all of the TV shows.